All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. I'm Mike, as always, and with me, I've got the wonderful Double D, a.k.a. David.
What's up?
And, of course, our original co-host, Dustin. How are you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing well.
All right, so I think we just need to start this off by saying this podcast is brought to you by Audible. What do you guys think about that? What do you know about Audible?
Audible's pretty cool. It's got a lot of books, and
Wrong.
you can download
It's got
them
audio
and
books.
listen to them.
Audiobooks, man.
Well,
God
yeah.
damn. David, you actually got something right for once, and Dustin, you messed up.
That they don't have books?
No, they got audiobooks. Double D said it already.
But you can still listen to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they actually have
books.
180,000 titles to choose from, and that number is just growing.
Were those 180,000 books originally written as audiobooks?
No.
Or books?
As books.
Oh.
That's not the point.
They were originally
We are
spoken as audiobooks.
and we dabble in the audio game, so we don't care about books. They're antiquated, and you can get paper cuts. You can't get a paper cut on an audiobook.
The fucking terrible movies that we just watched this week were based on a book from a long time ago.
So anyway, this podcast is brought to you by Audible. 180,000 books to choose from. If you go to audibletrial.com/MDXpods, you get a free month of audio books through Audible, and you actually get to keep the book. You get one free book as well. So it's pretty awesome, and Dustin kind of pointed it out. The movies that we're covering this episode are based off a book. We're covering The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. So, yeah, let's just kind of dive into it. Have you guys seen either of these movies before?
I had not.
Either of them?
I had seen the original because that was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I had never seen the new one though.
I didn't know this. You were a Three Musketeers fan. I remember liking this movie as a kid, and I think my mom had the song from this movie on cassette by Rod Stewart and Sting. Do you guys remember that song at least?
No.
Yeah, so I had the song. It was like, all for one and all for love.
Oh, I remember that is a song. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the main theme for this movie. And throughout the movie, like when something heroic's going on, there's just like a orchestra score of the song in this movie. So yeah, that's what the song was known for. Or not the song, but the movie was known for.
Well, all right.
Amazing song by two princes. The American Prince, Rod Stewart, and, the sexy Sting.
I thought Rod Stewart was English.
Is he English?
I'm pretty sure.
Is Rod Stewart English? I had no idea.
I'll look it up. I think he is.
I thought he was American.
I would agree with Dustin. I'm pretty sure
Let's
he's
look it up.
English.
Let's use the
The
Googles.
American Prince is Prince, dumbass.
Well, not anymore.
Well, I mean, we don't have a new one.
Oh, he is British. I had no idea Rod Stewart was British.
Yeah.
Way behind, Michael.
Whoa.
Way behind.
What does that change? Everything. Everything's changed.
My
Changing factor.
life is just
Yeah, think about it. Let it
imploded.
sink in.
What
Let it
about
sink
that
in.
song, like Jack and Diane? It seems
That's
like such an
John
American-
Mellencamp, dude.
That's John
not
Mellencamp.
even
Oh
Rod
my God.
Stewart.
Oh man, that's like why we do movie podcasts, because I actually know what I'm talking about with movies.
You just make up
Oh,
shit
yeah.
about music, apparently.
I always thought that was Rod Stewart for some reason. Oh man, well, it doesn't really make sense that they have two British people singing in a movie about the French. But
No. Also, all American.
There's a lot of things that didn't
all
know.
American actors play the heroes
well,
of
so
France.
let's just go into this real quick. So we did cover the Three Musketeers, the 1993 Disney movie, and then the 2011. I don't really want to call it a remake, but a reboot, which was directed and written by the guy who does most of the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah, that which was very obvious.
Very obvious that that's what was going on in that one. So, yeah. Double D, you said this was the 1993 one was one of your favorite movies as a kid?
It was. I definitely had it on VHS.
I had no idea. So what do you remember about this movie?
All for one, one for all was definitely a mantra I had as a child. I don't know why. But,
Like you would run
I
around
don't
as a
remember
kid,
a lot.
like,
I remember all the
proclaiming this?
sword fights. Yeah, and I mean,
Oh yeah, all the time
Ariel-
at school.
yeah,
Which
sword
was
fights,
your
fencing,
favorite?
you know.
In every sword fight you were in as a child, you proclaimed all for one and one
All
for all.
one for all.
Double D, what was your favorite Musketeer?
Probably Porthos.
That makes sense, especially if
All
you
right.
like the Disney version. So I'm ready to just dive into these movies. I think it's going to be pretty obvious what we're going to talk about. We're going to obviously have to talk about the differences between the Three Musketeers themselves, like which versions were better, talk about the story overall and just general feeling. So I had no idea when we picked this movie that you were a fan of this movie, Double D. So I'm kind of glad we got to go back for this. Maybe we ruined your childhood at some point. I don't know. But Dustin, can you go ahead and
talk about it.
summarize the 1993 version for me?
Yes, sir. All right. So the storyline, according to IMDb, and as written by The Logical Ghost,
Ooh.
the three best of the disbanded musketeers, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, join a young, hot-headed would-be musketeer, D'Artagnan, to stop the Cardinal Richelieu's evil plot to form an alliance with enemy England by way of the mysterious Milady.
Ooh.
Rochefort, the Cardinal's right-hand man, announces the official disbanding of the King's Musketeers. Three, however, refuse to throw down their swords. Athos, the fighter and drinker, Porthos, the pirate and lover, and Aramis, the priest and poet. Arriving in Paris to join the Musketeers, D'Artagnan uncovers the Cardinal's plans, and the four set out on a mission to protect king and country.
That actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it did sound pretty good.
it's not bad. Not a bad synopsis. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I want to watch that movie.
Yeah, I did watch that movie.
All right. So, what were your guys' general impressions of this movie?
I found it to be somewhat charming, a bit silly. I don't know. It never really I never felt fully invested in it.
No, I definitely didn't feel invested, but I mean, it was entertaining to watch.
I felt the same way, that I wasn't fully invested, but I did find some fun in it. I remember my parents really liked this movie. In fact, I remember anytime Oliver Platt, who played Porthos in this version, was in any kind of movie, my dad would always be like, hey, to my mom, like, that's your boyfriend or something like that. Because I guess my mom found the character charming when I was, like, when that movie was, fresh. So it used to drive my mom crazy. She'd always get mad because, Oliver Platt isn't, like, super attractive or anything. But my dad would always, like, make fun of her for liking the character, I guess.
Yeah, when really she was all about Charlie Sheen.
Everybody's about Charlie Sheen. He's winning, dude.
Winning.
Dude, I actually hoped, this is a very muted Charlie Sheen.
It really is.
I was kind of disappointed, when because I had never seen it, and I actually watched the 2011 one first, and I was all pumped on it because it has Mads Mikkelsen, who I really like. And then I loaded up the older one, and I was like, oh, fuck, Charlie Sheen is in this? This is going to be awesome. And then I was just kind of like, oh.
He was very tame.
He was very, very tame, Charlie Sheen. Yeah, it was weird.
Well, the thing that's...
I mean, there were glimpses.
There are glimpses
of good Charlie Sheen.
I didn't get the sense about the tiger's blood and the Adonis DNA.
No, not all that. Not full, in-depth Charlie Sheen.
So
just glimpses of it.
I think maybe part of that would have been... just a little trivia on this movie. Chris O'Donnell, who played D'Artagnan, and I can tell you just off the bat, my parents liked this movie. I remember we used to watch The Man in the Iron Mask, which is kind of like takes place much later in the careers of the Three Musketeers. I always got Athos and Porthos confused. I can never remember which one was which back then because their names are so similar. So doing this podcast and having to take notes, I finally got it down.
Straightened them out
and everything like that, but Chris O'Donnell as D'Artagnan, Keifer Sutherland as Athos, and Oliver Platt as Porthos. They actually went through like 6 weeks of fencing training, and Charlie Sheen was busy filming Hot Shots Part 2. So he was not around for a lot of it. And I think he missed, they had to cut some of his stuff out because he, just wasn't around to learn the choreography. And
couldn't learn the moves.
That actually makes a lot of sense because in a lot of the fight scenes, the Charlie Sheen
parts
of it were just lackluster. Yeah.
Yeah. So going into this movie, I remember liking this movie quite a bit as a kid. We didn't own it, but I remember watching it a couple of times. I'm pretty sure I may have seen this in theaters, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It was like you, Dustin. I think you hit it on the head. It's charming, but it was never fully engaging. And that could be because it's definitely dated. And I don't know. Did you guys ever get the sense that these Three Musketeers were like the best of the best, and they could take?
No,
Neither did I.
I didn't.
I Go ahead, Double D.
Well, I mean, like, what if you're the best of the best? Who just goes around dueling nobodies like that?
That's what
Exactly. Well, the thing that kind of bothered me was pretty early in the movie. So basically, in a nutshell, the overarching plot of this movie is D'Artagnan's father was a musketeer who died defending the king, and so he feels obligated to go be a musketeer, and so he sets off to go try to join them, and he like pisses off all three of the musketeers at some point and sets up duels and everything like that, and that gets stopped by the Cardinal's guards, and so he decides that he's going to help fight the Cardinal's guards with the Three Musketeers, even though they were just about to have duels. And they have like a little like offhand comment where they're like 5 against 3. That's hardly seems fair. We definitely have an upper hand or something along those lines. And then D'Artagnan comes in, it's like there's 4 of us. So the 4 of them fought 5 guys, right? Is my number counting right?
I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah.
But each one basically fought one-on-one the entire time. That fight scene was 10 minutes. Like I didn't really feel like they were that impressive.
No,
Like,
I didn't
these
feel
are
like they were that impressive. I also didn't feel like they were ever in any real danger.
Until maybe the end of the movie when there was like hundreds of guards and hundreds of musketeers. But even then, they're all taking like it's more or less
Also,
one-on-one.
Are they musketeers because they fight with swords?
No, that was the
they
king's
have
guards.
pistols and stuff, but why are they called musketeers?
Yeah, that was
Like, what's the origin? Like, are they supposed to have muskets? Like, they have
Yeah, they
pistols
definitely
and
don't
stuff.
have muskets.
They don't. I don't know.
I didn't see a musket in the entire movie.
This just could be me being ignorant. I don't know
You
why
ignorant.
they're called musketeers. I would assume because of their proficiency with muskets, but I think I'm wrong.
Maybe it's just a translation because originally it was a French novel and maybe we just didn't translate it right into English.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I never got the sense that these were like amazing fighters, and a lot of the times in this movie, so throughout this movie they get split up multiple times, but there's one point where D'Artagnan gets caught by Milady, and she's bringing him to a ship, and then it just shows up to the ship, and the 3 main guys, Athos, Aramis, and Porthos, like killed everybody on the ship already. Like you never actually see them do anything especially badass. But these guys are feared throughout the movie. They're like, oh, these are the 3 gnarliest fighters in the group. And I didn't get that in this movie.
Didn't come through for me, really.
And there's a lot of things I want to talk about with these guys compared to the 2011, but I feel like talking about the actual characters is going to be rough until we've kind of talked about both movies. I do want to say that Oliver Platt as Porthos was delightful, though. He lit up the screen. I really like Oliver Platt, and I think he did a great job in this movie.
He brought good comedy to it.
Like I loved how he played up the how he's a little bit more of a socialite and everything. Like he talks about the Queen of America and the Czaress of Tokyo.
Of Tokyo.
And like D'Artagnan both times is like, there is no Queen of America, and that's what made Porthos want to fight D'Artagnan. Was that started it, and then he like spilled wine on like whatever he was wearing, and he's like, that was a gift from the Queen of America, and he's like, there is no Queen of America, and then he's like, all right, we're gonna fight. Gotta think like, I really liked him. And there's a point where like they're getting attacked by the guards at their own house, and he just like drops a chandelier on him. He's like, well, damn, I was aiming for Rochefort. How do you pronounce his name? Rochefort kind of thing. So like he was really delightful. Keifer Sutherland was a bit of a drag. It just looked
the Rochefort guy was
Keifer
cool.
Sutherland is Keifer
Yeah,
Sutherland.
I liked Rochefort. Like he had like an interesting voice, and he was.
That guy was the bad guy in The Crow.
He was. Yeah, you're right.
He's a good villain.
Yeah, totally.
I liked him in this movie.
He was a little
he was good.
super skinny,
cool
but he
stash
had
going on.
that voice.
Yeah, the voice was good, and he just looks menacing. He had a good look about
The eye
him.
patch.
Yeah, and then you know, I did like the scene at the beginning of the movie with Charlie Sheen as Aramis when he's like supposed to be teaching the woman about the Bible.
Yeah.
And then she's just all hot and bothered, and he's like, I don't see why religion can't be a hands-on experience, and if we're not open and honest about our sin and everything. So he still plays the womanizer, which is Aramis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he did that part well. But, yeah, there wasn't a lot that Charlie Sheen did. What did you guys think about D'Artagnan by Chris O'Donnell?
I don't know, man.
That hair, though.
Yeah, that was bad. And just like, I don't know, man. Like, I liked Chris O'Donnell in Scent of a Woman. but I
don't know,
haven't
dude.
liked him in any other movie.
What about as Robin in Batman?
No, awful.
Yeah, that's the only thing I think about when I think Chris O'Donnell. I think Robin. And
So
fucking
the problem
Mr. Freeze.
the problem that I did have with this movie is nobody attempted an accent at all. So a lot of times in like these period
not
pieces,
any effort made. None. Zero.
a lot of times they'll do like a British accent. Like if you look at Beauty and the Beast, it doesn't make sense that only Lumiere has a French accent.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
takes place in France. Everyone has a British accent. If you look at Ever After, which was that Cinderella movie with Drew Barrymore, they all did British accents, but at least they did an accent. Like if you're ignorant and don't know the story of Three Musketeers, you might be like, "Oh, it's just a medieval thing or whatever." I guess that was Victorian era. I don't really know my history that well.
It's supposed to be like the 1600s.
It's 1600s. Yeah. You can say, okay, at least they're doing a European accent. But in this, all the actors, the 4 leads, are American, and they all just do their regular American accents. Like, they didn't even try to do anything.
Mm-mm. No,
not even close.
No effort made.
None. And Chris O'Donnell, he's not a very good actor, so his was even worse.
He's not very good at all.
I'm just looking through my notes. So the plot of this movie, basically, Tim Curry. Haven't discussed the fact that Tim Curry's in the movie. Tim Curry's always awesome,
He's good.
and he plays
Yeah.
he plays the
Cardinal.
Cardinal. And the basic plot of this movie is he's kind of creepily like in love with the Queen, who's from Austria. And then he's trying to. I didn't really understand the plot, how this worked, but he was trying to make a treaty with the Duke of Buckingham, which would make him king somehow.
I think it was just a way to get rid of the monarchy.
But
in
how would
France.
that be?
I
How
don't
would
think
that
it would
be
make
legitimate?
him king. I think it would replace the monarchy with like a republic of sorts. That would be like a theocratic kind of thing. Like basically, he wanted to set it
How
so
is
like
that
the church
legal
ran
in France? Like, how would the people be okay with that?
I mean, I don't think the people matter.
I just
in
don't
that
understand
kind
how
of society. Like the people
that works.
in a monarchy don't give a shit about anything. I think it was just like the church is pretty powerful, dude.
It
in those
was,
times.
but then there was the plot where like it seemed like that's what he was gonna do, but then like the Queen was very suspicious, and somehow she kind of let the king know what was going on somehow, and so they decided he was gonna assassinate the king. And it's like, well, why would you not just assassinate the king? Why do you have to do this whole plot with making a
Like
truce
going to
with
war
the
with
enemy?
England
Like,
and everything or whatever.
I didn't really understand his end game, but then he was also like wanting to bang the Queen.
I thought they were trying to go to war with England, and then the French, like the Musketeers had been disbanded, and the French were weak, and they would need help from the church in order to do that, and that would be how he would get power.
Maybe that's
Like
what
with
it
the
was.
aid of the church, I guess,
And
in some weird way.
And a big plot of this
Just
movie
the
was
church
just that
putting him in power.
the king wasn't necessarily upset that the Musketeers were disbanded, but he wanted to be the ones who told, or he wanted to be the one that told all the Musketeers that they no longer had a job. But that was really the only kind of thing that he was upset about in this movie.
Yeah,
like his
and it
plot
was,
was
like-
pretty thin.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's a little early to compare to the other movie, but like, I liked the king in the newer one much better.
So initially, like, I'm just going to say this, like, originally, I've seen both of these movies, and I remember liking this one a lot, and I remember seeing trailers for the 2011 one and thought it looked stupid, but it was on Netflix, so it's not on Netflix anymore, but it used to be on Netflix back in the day, or maybe I Redboxed, I don't remember, but I remember one time Katrina was out of town, and I was like, this looks like whatever, I'll just watch it. She has no desire to see it, so I might as well watch it while she's out of town. And I remember hating the new one. I was like, this is really bad and it's really stupid. And I'm not saying it's good now, but there were a lot of elements of the new one that I actually liked better than this one. I do think this one is a better movie, but there's certain elements of the new one that I really liked.
Yeah, I would not say that the new one is good.
No, not by
as
any
far
means.
as the movie goes, but I'm just saying that I think I enjoyed the. I guess I just like the king better in the new one.
I think the king had a larger role, and it was
Much larger.
not like so just one dimensional. Like just
And it
his
just
plot
kind of made
element.
more sense given like the whole world they were trying to create. Like he had some agency. He liked the Musketeers. He kept them around and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll get to it when we talk about that movie, I guess. But I just felt like that was a much stronger character in the newer one.
So some of the characters in this, like basically every character in this movie is in the new one, but slightly, just everyone's drastically different in the newer one than in this one. So like you have Milady, who isn't in the movie very much, but she's still, you know, a spy for, you know, the government or for the cardinal.
Yeah, she's integral to the story.
She's integral to the story. She's much more integral in the next one. But she used to be Aramis's wife, and you find out later in the movie that he used to be a count. Like this movie didn't give a lot of background on the characters. Like, you know that Aramis used to study under the cardinal directly. Porthos used to be a pirate, and Aramis used to be a count who married a criminal and then turned her into the police, or not the police, but the royal guards.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all when they became musketeers. It's not really. It's a little vague on what the timelines of all these different stories were, but I don't know. I don't really know why these guys were considered the best, other than they were just the three that decided not to hang up their like tunics and stuff. Are those tunics what they wear?
Those are tunics. Yeah, I believe that is a tunic.
Excellent.
And they were kind of funky looking.
Yeah.
The costumes weren't that great.
They weren't great. They weren't bad. They definitely, I think, were more period appropriate than the new movie. Like the new movie, they were all just wearing like leather suits and stuff like that.
Yeah, like X-Men suits.
Well, not like that, but you know, they looked like maybe if like the Matrix had a person in the movie that was like
if the Matrix was in the 1600s.
Yeah,
if that was the Matrix that the robots put you in.
Yeah, exactly.
You would choose to dress like these guys.
Yeah, so it's like everybody else would be like all the civilians would be dressed like the Disney version. But then, like the people
cool,
from Zion
the cool Matrix people.
So, is there anything in particular?
They would probably also give themselves names similar to these characters' names.
No, I mean there wasn't a lot of like stuff that stood out. I did want to mention Parker. Did you guys notice Parker, the only Asian dude in the entire movie?
Oh, yeah.
No, there was 2 Asian people in this movie.
Oh, was there another Asian dude?
There was a bad guy Asian guy.
That was Parker.
Oh, is his name Parker?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking Planchette. Their like manservant. Well, I did like how Porthos made fun of it. Like he does like the kung fu. He's like, and like
and then he just cuts the rope.
Yeah, and just cuts the rope and makes the guy fall down. I really enjoyed Oliver Platt. I think he was delightful. I really liked that scene where they were trying to teach D'Artagnan how to hit on women, and he just kind of like mixed the two versions of it. Like, I did really like the character development in this movie to an extent, even though you didn't get a background. Like, you really did get what the characters were about, and each of the 3 people had a distinctly different personality.
Yeah.
I do feel like there was something to that. Like, I felt like everyone had their own part to play in this. D'Artagnan, Chris O'Donnell sucked. Like, I think he was not the best fighter, even though he's supposed to be an amazing fighter. He got caught. How many times did he fucking get caught in this movie?
He's always getting caught, dude.
He got caught at the beginning, and he like somehow got out of jail and like heard the Cardinal's plot, but they somehow let him get out again. Then he gets caught by Milady. He gets cornered. Like, I did like Aramis in this movie by Keifer Sutherland. Like, he was just so cold and just like several points he threatened to kill D'Artagnan if he didn't like stop talking or if he didn't leave to go like complete the mission.
Yeah.
Like, D'Artagnan was super naive and was just all about like, I want to stick with you guys. It's like, no, we need to go fucking make sure there's not war. Go or I'll shoot you because you're worthless. So I did like that. And
dude,
I feel
that's
like
Jack Bauer right there.
Yeah, I was going to
say.
Jack
Bauer, he's
like
never changed.
Keifer
That's why he's
Sutherland.
casted in Jack Bauer.
How drunk do you think he was on this movie?
I don't know.
Because he's an alcoholic, for real. Like he has shut down productions because of his problems.
I can't say. I don't know how drunk he was.
I would say he was as drunk as he needed to be a duke. What was it? Oh no, a count that had a widow, or his wife died, or whatever it was. I mean, I would be an alcoholic.
One of the things that, because we're going a little long in this movie, but I think there'll be a lot of crossings. I do want to just touch on a couple of things. I thought it was interesting how Tim Curry as the Cardinal just completely addressed like the rumors. Like when the king does kind of confront him, he's like, he basically tells the king everything that he's doing, and it's like, come on, King, don't be fucking naive. Like,
sober up,
totally
dumbass.
fuck you over. Let's see. I had a note on something. I don't care. I don't even talk about.
I did also like the scene where Charlie Sheen he starts to block the cardinal, and the cardinal just shoots him.
That's right. He shoots him, and the cross saves him.
Like
the cross. Yeah. That scene was interesting. I guess. I don't know. Yeah, like they all got split.
I just enjoyed that he's gonna stop him with a sword, and then he just gets shot.
Yeah. Did it also? Because I've watched these movies while I was in Oregon and between flights and stuff like that. I watched both these movies at like half hour at a time between flights and stuff because I was, out of the state. They all got split up. Was it this movie where they all got split up and like Porthos goes through? Doesn't he fight like a mutant guy? Or is that in the other one?
It was the first one.
Yeah. So he gets separated. He goes down one tunnel, and then Aramis goes down another tunnel, and he fights like those random mutant guy and like crushes him in a gate, and he makes a pun. I don't remember what it was, but he makes like a really stupid pun. I did like that. And then the other thing about this movie is there's another subplot throughout the entire movie. There was this guy named Gerard who he thinks D'Artagnan stole his sister's virginity because he saw them kissing. So throughout the movie, this guy randomly pops up trying to kill D'Artagnan.
Yeah. D'Artagnan!
He's like, D'Artagnan! He actually reminded me a lot of the king in the new movie.
I could see it.
But I don't have any. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about this movie before we move on to the 2011?
No.
Nah.
All right, so let's just get into the 2011 one. This one is one that I definitely remember not even looking good on the trailer. So this was right when, a year and a half after Avatar, so everything was in 3D, and they were doing movies specifically to be in 3D at this point. And you could definitely tell this was one of those, we're going to make a gimmicky 3D movie. I did not watch it in 3D for the podcast.
Nor did I.
And I did not see it in 3D originally, but you can definitely tell that this was meant to be 3D. And let's just dive into it. Dustin, can you summarize this fine picture for us?
This IMDb summary is much shorter. The hot-headed young D'Artagnan, along with 3 former legendary but now down on their luck musketeers, must unite and defeat a beautiful double agent and her villainous employer from seizing the French throne and engulfing Europe in war.
Concise.
Damn. That one sounds really good, too.
It sounds good, but it's not.
Poorly executed.
What the first thing I wanted to kind of do is talk about things that I did like about this one. I did think that while not everything was executed well, I didn't like the airships. That didn't make any sense to me. I don't get why they took this period piece and tried to add
an airship.
An airship. It's not
a Leonardo da Vinci designed airship.
Airship with machine gun cannons.
Those are pretty cool though.
It was interesting that it's not steampunk. I remember reading something, they called it something different. It's not steampunk, but, it had, that kind of, vein.
Yeah. There's one thing I liked about this movie, and it was Mads motherfucking Mikkelsen.
So, interesting thing about Mads in this movie. So, he has the eye patch, because Rochefort had the eye patch. But this is the 3rd movie he did that he played a character missing an eye. And it's always the same eye that he's had. So just a little.
Well, he's really good at it
for you. He's really good at missing that eye.
He doesn't even need it, dude.
He doesn't. He went method. He actually removed his eye for this.
Fortunately, they were able to reinsert it after, only to remove it again
every time he does
it.
So just. One thing that I did like about this movie is even though it wasn't executed perfect, I could have taken out the airship. I do think that this plot from the Cardinal, played by Cristoph Waltz, was a better plot. I did like the whole espionage bit of this movie. I think it was better. Basically the plot of this one is the Cardinal is trying to make a war with England, and then to do that he convinces he gets rid of the Musketeers in general. And he has Milady, who plays a much larger role in this movie. She's double-crossing the Musketeers. She's double-crossing the British. She's double-crossing the French. She's a quadruple agent in this movie. And he basically sets it up where the Queen, who the King really loves, but he doesn't know if she loves him, and vice versa. He sets it up to make it look like the Queen's going to have an affair. And that would start a war. So there's this whole espionage thing, and I think like this story was a really good way to drive the plot, and it made sense in the fact that like these musketeers weren't just like soldiers and guards. Like they set up the musketeers like they're almost like this like CIA like special forces. So I did like that plot, like the hook. I just don't think anything was really executed well.
No. God, they spent a ton of money on this movie.
They spent a ton of money. Like, it technically made its money back.
$75 million on this movie.
Whoa.
And it made like 178 million internationally. So, and this movie, they ended with a setup for a sequel. Like, they thought this movie was going to have a sequel.
Yeah, that was weird.
And I'm surprised that they didn't do it because it made enough money to justify it. Like, it more than doubled what it cost to make. So I'm surprised we didn't get some shitty.
Not in America.
Like, they made. Not in America. It didn't do well in America. In America, it did what, like 30 million?
It did 8,674,000. Well, that's its opening weekend. That's not its gross. It's gross. It looks like not great. Not great. Not great.
They didn't break even here.
No, it doesn't.
No, not here. But it made like 178 million overseas,
yeah.
like total. So like it made enough money to justify it. Like. There are movies that have done poorly in the United States. Like the last couple Transformers movies haven't done well in the United States, but they crushed it. Yeah, right. Internationally, and so we're gonna keep getting these goddamn sequels. So I'm surprised we didn't get one. But like I said, there's a couple things that they did really well. Like I do think that this one, they also showed that these guys are like fucking badass soldiers. So in this version, when they go to like have their duel and then it's stopped by the Cardinals guards, they bring like 40 guys and these guys take on all 40 of them. So it's like these ones in this movie, I see why these guys are so heavily like regarded and highly regarded.
But also like, D'Artagnan started that battle with all those other guys. So he was confident in his ability and he was saying like I don't know, I felt like D'Artagnan had way too much skill for what he was.
D'Artagnan was a fucking dumbass mouthing off to people all the time.
He was a dickhead. So in this movie, I do appreciate that they, most of the actors were like Ray Stevenson is British, so is Luke Evans, and I don't know who the other guy is, the guy who played Aramis.
Perfectly cast to play Frenchman.
Yeah, these British guys, perfect Frenchmen with their British accent. I do really like Luke Evans. Like everything I've seen him in, I actually like a lot.
Okay. Like
I think he was great in Fast and the Furious. I think he was great in Beauty and the Beast as Gaston. I think he's interesting in this. Like at the beginning of this had like a Suicide Squad kind of setup thing,
which was a fantastic movie.
Oh,
that was a weird beginning. Actually,
it was super weird.
Like it had them set up like doing this like caper, and they all had like a little like animated intro like after they did something cool. But Aramis,
their title or their name would appear on the screen and stuff.
Yeah. In like a wanted poster kind of style, but like I did like Luke Evans
French
when he
wanted posters.
I did like how Aramis seems very like Assassin's Creed like so he starts off like he's got this cloak up and then he like jumps off a building and then lands on a boat kills a guy really quick, and then there was a girl and he's like, I'm not really a priest, and she's like, I'm not really a lady. He's like, I've got 10 minutes, and then they bang on the boat.
That means that she was a dude.
A French dude is basically like a lady, right?
Yeah, one of them little dudes.
Oh, you know what? I don't want to offend our French listeners. We actually have one French listener, like on every episode.
Really?
So
he's been waiting for this Three Musketeers review.
But yeah, so I feel like these characters, they were drastically different. Let's just kind of talk about that. I think the two Aramises, the Arami.
The
they were pretty similar, just the drunk brooding guys. But the Porthos
very different.
I don't know what you're gonna go with. Where you're going with that one?
Were very different. So the Porthos, played by Oliver Platt, was very much like into. He was still very much into his material things, but he used to be pirate. Like this Porthos was like this. Brute strength, just always getting caught kind of guy, but he was taking money. Like he didn't have money himself, and he was taking money from women to buy him nice things.
Yeah, well, his deal was doing like the Chewbacca prisoner scam.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just does it. He does it over and over again in this movie.
And they keep falling
takes
for it.
money from women to like be. I don't really know what he was trying to do.
Get sweet gear, dude. He was trying to get new clothes.
Sweet gear.
Yeah, but other than that, like you have these like the opening scene where it shows them what their specialty in combat is,
Wearing
and then
cool
like the
clothes.
scene where D'Artagnan pisses them all off one by one.
He
That's really
pisses
the only-
off Rochefort first, then
Oh,
all
that's
of the
right.
Musketeers.
Shoots him.
Yeah, and he's like, "Why did you shoot him?" And then like Rochefort,
Because
played
he's
by
an
Mads, is
asshole.
like, that was actually a pretty cool scene. So he's like,
Yeah.
"You insulted my horse," and he's like,
Buttercup.
"You know, he's my horse is the one that you need to apologize to, not me. Like I don't care." And then he shoots him, and he's like, "You shot me. That's not fair." And he's like, "You should have been dead, but my pistol wasn't." And then he like pistol whips the guy who's supposed to be like his
the
armsman.
guy that takes care of his pistols.
Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, you go, Mads."
Yeah, dude. Fuck all these nerds. You don't deserve that shit. You're trying to run
So-
France.
There was a
With
lot of
one
like,
eye.
random people in this movie. So, is it James Corden, the guy who does like, who's that new late night host, and he does like the carpool karaoke? He played like their manservant, and
Oh, yeah,
this,
yeah.
The evil coach from Mighty Ducks 2 plays like some random like guard guy in this movie
The
that
evil
keeps popping
coach.
up. Like I had looked at him, I'm like, this it's really bugging me. I don't
I don't
know who this
remember
guy
his
is,
name, but I
it's
know who
Mighty
you're
Ducks.
talking about. He was an evil
Yeah.
coach.
He was the evil coach. He fucking
He coaches evil.
he fucking hit Bombay with a
He
hockey stick and
trains
took him out.
the kids
He
in
ruined
evil.
their beach ball.
Yeah,
What a jerk.
he did.
I love the Mighty Ducks, by the way.
Till
You know what I hated about this
Schweiger.
movie? Yeah. You know what I hated
He
about
also
this movie?
played, Till Schweiger played Hugo Stieglitz in Inglourious Bastards.
He's a
Oh,
good.
he is
I
in
like
that. Yeah, you're right. I hated the music in this movie.
I thought you meant the original evil coach. From
No,
the
that
first
was
Mighty
the guy who
Ducks.
played. No, I can't remember his name, but he's also the lawyer. He's like the bad lawyer in My Cousin Vinny.
The Mighty Ducks series is plagued by evil coaches.
There's at least 3 evil coaches.
Yeah, dude,
There's
that's
3
weird.
movies.
I wonder if they
But
hang
yeah,
out
the
with
music-
the evil guy from Karate Kid, the evil dojo karate master.
Shoot the leg. But yeah, the music was fucking terrible in this movie.
Oh
I
yeah.
fucking hated it.
I also hated when like Mila Jovovich goes to steal the diamonds, so they have like those monofilament lines and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
like
That
how
didn't make
then
any
do you
goddamn
ever
sense.
get the fucking diamonds if you want them? Why did they?
You can't. It made no sense. Well, her
Like I feel like it was like,
character-
oh, tell my wife to go get her diamonds. It's the same as like tell my wife to go fucking die. Like, you're never gonna get them out of there.
I also didn't like. So the beginning of the movie has like this caper, and they all like have to get each of
Yeah.
the 3 Musketeers go and get a key to open up Da Vinci's vault, and then there's like this hallway that's trapped, and they're like, and it's like shooting darts and like
It's shooting those spiky bullets, those
maces and stuff
spike
like that,
ball
and then she
bullet
just
things.
runs through it. Like
Yeah, that was weird.
it was really, and it looked terrible.
Oh, it was awful.
And she just runs, and then she does like this matrix slide. Like she has physics-defying like superpowers where she can
Yeah.
slide on her knees for like 200
Faster
yards.
than bullets.
200.
And then like that scene where she's like going to steal the diamonds, and she has to like jump off the roof, and she's got like these like gear pulley systems built into her corset. And I thought she was gonna jump off the roof and then like land slowly, but it just like stops the jolt. Like that would have hurt really bad.
Oh yeah,
Not if we're in
but there was
the
a-
Matrix.
that's true. We could still
That's
be.
right.
In
We've
a,
established that this was a
1600s
1600s Matrix. Yep. But like,
There is no
Double D,
corset.
you brought up the scene earlier where, I mean, I guess I brought up the scene, but you talked about how D'Artagnan started the fight with like the 40 guards.
Yeah.
That kind of actually bothered me a little bit because he's like, the 3 Musketeers are all like, yeah, we'll put down our weapons. We're not going to fight. Like, it's not worth fighting all these 40 guys. And then D'Artagnan, who has no reason to want to fight these guards, like,
He's a
he's there to
country
fight
kid.
them.
Yeah.
He's just a country kid who's a dick. Like, he's killing tons of people who are just doing their jobs.
Just murdering cops.
They
basically.
murder
No
murder
problem.
people.
What
This
he's
is Grand
doing.
Theft Auto. Like,
Still
that's
a
all it
douchebag.
is. Oh my
The
god.
horse
yeah, he
named Buttercup.
killed- So this was my note on that. The Musketeers don't want to fight, but D'Artagnan whoops all kinds of ass. They join in and kill tons of dudes, doing their jobs. Not very heroic. Had epic hero music at this part, though.
Yeah.
Epic hero music.
Didn't make any goddamn sense.
Well-
And then, like, the king was completely cool with him killing 40 of his cardinal's guards.
Not just the king, the people. The people were cheering.
Well, the
for
people
them.
were
Well, the
cheering,
people don't like the Cardinals guards.
and the cardinal like tries to get them punished. And the king's like, yeah, they need to be punished, but they all end up getting new suits and like a pouch full of gold.
Yeah, they need to be punished. But he likes them. They're his guards.
And they got to go to the parade.
Yeah, and they got to go to the parade, and then like the fucking Legolas shows up with the airship.
Legolas.
Yeah,
Legolas.
Legolas shows up.
Los
With
Legos.
an airship. There's also like a huge subplot in this movie throughout the movie where the king wants to be like all dandy and wear the same clothes.
He
as
just wants
the
the best
Duke
fashion,
of
dude.
Buckingham. And so like every time like he keeps changing colors, and then Legolas is like, nah, bro, you're wearing the wrong color, you stupid bitch.
It's like last year's colors,
Blue.
dog.
Last
You don't
year's
even know.
colors,
You
yep.
don't even know about colors. My one of the things that I had a problem with was back to the airship. One, even if they stole the blueprints, like how would they really understand how to build it? And then after they built it, I remember the Musketeers steal it, and they're
Right.
flying on it.
How do they know how to fly it?
How do they know how to fly it? That's, yes, a very good point. The other part is one of them actually says, oh, I hate air travel. And it's like, you have no fucking experience with air travel. No one has ever air traveled before.
No. Well, and then the other thing.
Oh, I
that
hate
makes
airports
sense-
too. They're the worst. Like, shut up, idiot.
What's the deal with airline food?
Yeah, sell all these peanuts. Exactly. It's
And
like,
then at
there's
the
no
end-
reference point for this.
And then at the end, there's a second airship that the Cardinal actually made, and
That's
somehow.
bigger and badder than theirs.
But like this one is like nigh indestructible. The only way it can be destructed is by crashing it to Notre Dame. Like they shoot all these cannons at it, and it doesn't even like dent the wood. Where
No.
like that one's like splintering the one made by the Duke of Buckingham.
I don't know. And I also feel like they were a focal point of the movie, right? Like a lot of clearly a lot of time went into like the design of them, and they did look kind of cool.
They were cool.
Like they looked
but, like,
cool, but it just didn't
They
make
should have
any
built
sense.
this world more where it was a more steampunky world, so it
Yeah.
made more sense.
Yeah, like these are the only elements of this technology employed,
And
at
then by
any
the
time.
end of the movie, the movie is supposed to take place over the course. Like the beginning of the movie is supposed to be like 6 months prior to the main plot of this movie. So they made not one but two of these airships, as far as we know. But at the end of the movie, like the stinger to show that there's going to be a sequel,
It's a fleet of them.
Legolas comes back, aka the Duke of Buckingham, with like, hundreds of airships.
Yeah.
Hundreds of them. Like, how did they make that many fucking things that quickly?
That they've never made before.
Never.
They've
keep
never
it
piloted
secret.
before. They've never
Like,
trained
they-
anyone on how to operate them before.
And they kept it secret. Like, there's no way. Like, at one point,
Like they might as well have had the fucking Wild Wild West like tarantula thing.
Tarantula spider thing. So the thing that doesn't make sense is at one point, the Duke comes in and he's talking to Cristoph Waltz, and he says something like, I want the alcohol. And he's like, I don't drink. And he's like, well, what about the brandy that you have in your drawer? He's like, oh, you must tell me who your spy is. He's like, only if you tell me who your spy is in my castle. And it's like, how did nobody know that there was hundreds of these goddamn ships?
Bad
Doesn't
spies,
make
man.
any sense.
These are
I don't
terrible
know,
spies.
man. Like that was where it kind of fell. Well, I mean, the whole thing wasn't really held together too well, but the airship part I had a big problem with. And I think I was even more mad because it did look cool.
Yeah.
The airship?
Yeah, like I thought it looked like a cool vehicle. Like if they'd established a little bit more, I felt like I could have been
You know,
I
what it
could have been
actually
sold on
reminded
it,
me
and I
of?
just wasn't.
It reminded me a lot of in America it was Final Fantasy 3, but it was actually Final Fantasy 6 in the series. It was the one on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
That you had an airship?
They have an airship in there, and it, like visually it looked a lot like that
Very
game
similar,
because it's
yeah.
still that similar, like that semi
Blimp.
not medieval Victorian era
Yeah.
like
It was
time
like
frame.
like a galleon or something with a big airbag on top. Like,
Yeah,
it looked cool.
yeah. The other thing in this movie was I hated Mila Jovovich in this movie.
Yeah,
Oh,
me too.
dude.
Like, she didn't even attempt an accent. So she didn't attempt one at all. She just used her American accent. The kid, Logan Lerman, who plays D'Artagnan, he at least kind of did a weird British one where it was mostly his American accent, but periodic, like, he just, like, had a little bit of a twang in some of his words. Like at least he tried to do something, but Mila Jovovich didn't do anything because she was banging the director.
Oh, well, there you go.
That explains.
Well,
Also,
I mean, that's her
Resident
husband,
Evil.
so it's okay to sleep with her husband. So I'm not saying like she got this role because of that, but she did.
But she did.
But like, I also didn't like. So they have this big thing where she knows him so well. They kind of do this thing like in the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies where they like show what they're gonna do, but then they don't actually do it. So like, there's another caper in the middle of the movie where they set it up like this is what we're gonna do, but she knows we're gonna do that, so we're gonna do this, and they set it up like, but then they don't do the thing that they say they're gonna do. They catch her, and then she like literally pouts like a toddler. I was like, I hated that so much. Like I hated her in this movie. Hated her. And then like she goes to kill herself because like she couldn't get. She knew that poor Aramis would not forgive himself if he killed her because they used to be married.
Yeah.
But somehow
So
she like
jumps off the
lands
airship.
in. Yeah, she lands in another airship, and that was the other twist ending that they were together. Like, you know, the Duke of Buckingham like saves her, and it was weird. But the other thing that was weird about this movie is by the end of the movie, they set it up like so. They get the jewels back. So the whole thing is they steal the diamonds, so that way the queen can't be wearing the diamonds, so the king will know that she slept with the Duke of Buckingham. So the whole plot revolves around them getting these diamonds back in 5 days. And for some reason, instead of exposing the cardinal as the villain, they're like, he was the one who caught wind of this and told us to go and get this. And like, why would they do that?
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
No, that makes
to
no
me.
sense.
Yeah, I don't really get it. And like one of the other big things in this movie was Aramis keeps talking about like, you know, what are we fighting for? You know, I used to fight for the country and I used to fight for this. And then by the end of it, it's like, oh, we fight for each other. But at one point they get the love interest for D'Artagnan and he's like, screw country, screw fighting for this, like fight for the girl kind of thing. And like Mads totally like double, like the whole point was like Mad Mikkelsen as Rochefort was gonna turn on them anyway and not live up to his bargain. So like D'Artagnan goes over there, still falls for the trick and to go get the girl. Like none of it really made sense. Like I don't feel like there really needed to be that love interest in the movie.
Mm-mm. It wasn't necessary for the movie.
But I do think the action in this movie was pretty solid.
I thought the sword fighting was cooler than in the previous one.
Yeah, it was definitely good.
It
like,
seemed
I
more
really
like
did
they were trying to like hurt each other rather than just like clang, clang, clang their swords together a whole bunch, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this one, like that fight scene where they took on like 40 dudes was pretty good. Like they all took on, you know,
And killed
5
a bunch
to
of them.
10 guys. And like I can see why people were like afraid of them.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. So like I said, between the 1993 and this one, I think they both had their merits. Like I do think the characters were more likable and distinct in the original one, or not the original because there have been like 8 Three Musketeers movies, but the 2 that we talked about, the characters were likable in the original one. This one, other than that opening scene and them setting up the duels, once they got past and they were all friends and working together, they were all just like vague and basically the same person.
Yeah.
Except for
Again,
D'Artagnan.
And Mads.
And Mads. Where Mads was awesome, but this one did have better action, and I think like the plot was interesting. Like if you had the same plot without the airships and put it in the 1993 one, I think it would have been a better movie.
Yeah, and that's what frustrated me so much about those goddamn airships, man.
Yeah, and the thing
They
is about
spent
the
so
Three
much
Musketeers.
time on them. I wonder how much of the $75 million cost to pop in them damn airships.
Well, I'm sure at this time it was probably working on. This was shot in 3D, so working on those cameras was really expensive back then.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't a converted movie; like it was filmed in 3D.
I just wish I
These
could see
actors
like
cost-
a line-by-line breakdown of what they spent their money on and see how much those airships really cost them.
See, like the P&L report.
Yeah, I want to see what did you invest in those airships?
So the thing
Fucking-
about this movie is like everything's on green screen. It doesn't look terrible, but you can definitely tell most of it's green screened.
Yep.
Oh, the other thing that was weird was the other tech. Like all their tech was weird. Remember the guy had a fucking scuba suit.
Yeah,
Yeah, right in the
How does he
beginning,
have a
they opened with
fucking
the scuba.
scuba
and he also
suit?
had that like crossbow that split into like 3. But even Porthos had one of those in the original, in the 1993 one. He had
But that
like
was his thing. He had like cool tools.
He had a couple random gadgets, but
And
this
they-
one had a ton of different gadgets.
Yeah.
They also, the other thing that bugged me and it didn't make any sense was like I kind of liked what they were doing until it actually happened. So they go into the vault and like these bad guys, they're like, there's only one, it's a vault, there's no way out. So they like blow up the vault so it will flood because they're under the canals in Italy. And you see this water like shoot through the floor in like the main chamber and take out a ton of guards.
Yeah, like a huge.
Like they're in that room. How did they not get killed?
Exploded. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man.
Weird.
Ugh.
It's falling apart, dude. It's unraveling so fast.
It's falling apart the more we talk about it. That fight scene with Mads wasn't that good. Like Mads totally should have kicked
on the roof
shit out of D'Artagnan.
At the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have worked him.
Yeah, he did work him, but then like somebody threw him the sword and he just like got stabbed. Like,
yeah.
And he didn't even get stabbed in that good a spot. I feel like
I don't
Mads
feel like that would have killed
kept
you right
going.
away. I think Mads could take that stab and still kill that little idiot.
Kill and then die.
Or at least grabbed him and then jumped off the building or something. Killing them both.
Yeah. Stupid.
Fucking
So,
dumb.
Stupid.
I liked the scene.
I wouldn't want to fight Mads.
I wouldn't want to
Hell
fight
no,
Mads
dude.
either.
No way.
Even with one eye.
Dude, he's also fucking Hannibal Lecter. He'll eat you.
Yeah, he was also in that Valhalla Rising movie where he was like a
dude,
weird...
this guy's gnarly.
Yeah, dude.
He's always a bad guy, except in that Star Wars movie.
Rogue One.
Rogue
He also
One.
invented the fucking Death Star.
You might say he was the first rogue.
Oh, you could.
He was Rogue One.
Yeah,
Ooh,
exactly.
deep.
I just cracked that shit wide open.
Fucking
Shit, dude.
deep.
So the other thing that I thought was kind of dumb in this movie, so when they capture Milady and they can get her to tell them everything, and then Aramis is going to shoot her, and then she like jumps overboard into like the obvious like CGI ocean, or obvious CGI ocean is obvious, like it's super CG. And
obvious CGI ocean is obvious.
Yep. And she goes out and they're like, he goes, she did it for me because I would have
Never
I
forgiven
wouldn't have pulled the
myself.
trigger and lived with her, right? And they go that one of the other ones was she went out the way she lived on her own terms. It's like, shut the fuck up. I hated that. It was super
It was
corny.
corny,
I
man.
really-
A lot of the
especially,
dialogue was like that.
the
though.
music in this movie was terrible.
It
though.
was
I'm
a
just gonna say it again.
charmless movie, is how I would describe it. Like,
Yeah,
Especially compared to the first one.
yeah, and the first one was not a great movie. It just had a little bit of kind of
It had some
flair
charm.
to it. Yeah, and this one just like, no, we're gonna throw all that out the window and replace it by questionable technology.
So you liked the King, you said, right?
I did like this king better.
Yeah, it was interesting because he was such like a dandy kind of like.
I think that's why I liked him. Like,
yeah.
he
I like
knew
this
his
queen.
place. Like I felt like the king and Rochefort knew themselves better than any of
I
the other
guess so.
characters in the movie.
But I didn't really like the whole plot where he's like, you and me are the same, D'Artagnan. Like, we both are like indigo. I mean, my friend, like that generic, like, I'm
Yeah.
not interested in this thing. But
I was okay
Um,
with that. Like, at least
I also didn't like the whole, like, D'Artagnan was like, Constance, his love interest,
Yeah.
like, is kind of like mean to him, which I get throughout most of the movie.
she was really mean.
And then she's just like, then she goes like, comes to him and tells him what's going on. And he's like, I have to go to England in 5 days and back in 5 days. I'm going to have hundreds, if not thousands of people coming after me. Why should I do that? And then she kisses him. He's like, oh, okay.
Oh. All right, then.
Stupid.
Well, I think that's like,
So-
that's what they're about, though. It's like the Musketeers shit.
I guess.
That's their shit.
And then at the end, they did the all for one and one for all thing. And like, they're like, we fight for each other, not for France, not for the king, but for each other or something like that. Or
Yeah.
I think it closes with the like, as long as I believe in fighting for ourselves, then there's something to be worth fighting for. It was like super heavy handed.
I felt like with these Musketeers, though, like they were still kind of hard to like they were hard to tell apart in a way. Like they all had their fucking gimmick, you know, but they were still pretty interchangeable. It kind of reminded me of like, what was it? One of the newer episodes of Rick and Morty with the Vindicators, where like he's like torturing them. He's like, just match your shit with your shit, and like you know, they're all the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no,
It
I
was
agree.
so
Like,
lazy.
Other than when they were purposely trying to point out how they were
Yeah.
different. Other than in those exact moments, they were generic. Like
Right.
they all acted the same. They all acted the same towards D'Artagnan. They all acted the same towards Planchette. They all acted the same
Yeah.
towards the king. Like,
I mean, there was a
no
bunch of moments
layers.
where they even said the same thing.
Yeah, like they were the same. It was like a hive mind.
Yeah, it was lame.
Anyway, I'm done talking about this movie. Did you think that this movie needed to be made, or do you think like the 1993 one needed a remake or a reboot?
No.
Nope.
I'm going to disagree. No, I don't think that the 2011 movie is the one that needed to be made. But I think the Three Musketeers is such a simple premise that it should be simple to make a fun, entertaining movie out of it.
If you're going to remake this, I feel like that would be the same as remaking Princess Bride.
I don't necessarily think so, because The Princess Bride is a different thing. Like, the book and the movie of Princess Bride are drastically different.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying, like, the feel of this movie, I would compare it to Princess Bride.
Well, I think you can do, like, so if you look at The Man in the Iron Mask, well, it's supposed to be like the Three Musketeers much, much older after they brought the next king around. D'Artagnan is still ahead, like taking care of everything and whatever. Like, that was a legitimately good movie. The one with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's not really it has the Three Musketeers in it, but it's not the tale of the Three Musketeers. Like, you know, I think you could make a good Three Musketeers movie. I just don't think we have had one yet. Like, I don't see why it's so hard. Like, look at Pirates of the Caribbean. I think this one just tried to be Pirates of the Caribbean too much, but like with the fucking steampunk flair. Like, I think you could do a good period piece. Like, look at Game of Thrones. You know, nobody really thought, like, if you went back, you know, before Game of Thrones came out, you would have never thought a period piece like that could be done and be so popular. Like, I think there's something.
Like, the poster for the 2011 one looks like a ripoff of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Like, the layout, like the title, I don't know, all of it does. And I think that, like, that was a period film that was good, you know, that they did. They spent a bunch of money on it. It was pretty cool. The first one, at least. I haven't seen all of them.
The first one. The rest of them suck. The first one's the only one worth watching.
Yeah. And I think they were like, oh, we can totally do this, and, like, everyone will like it.
I definitely think that, like, if a new Three Musketeers movie came out that took itself a little bit more, like, that took some of what worked with both of these movies and mashed them, I think there could be a good, fun movie. Like, if you took something like The Patriot, which I love that movie with Mel Gibson, like, you know, that's a period piece that's really good. Like, take something, make it serious, and have, like, interesting characters in it. Like, take
I think you just need also more interesting actors to play the Musketeers. Like, maybe some oddball choices, you know? I don't know. There's something to it. Or
let's get Simon Pegg as
sure,
as Athos, the priest guy.
Sure,
I could see him doing that.
Why not?
But yeah, I think make the movie more serious and have, like, the eccentric characters of the Three Musketeers, like, them being different, and this, like, having them being kind of like outcast and different, and that's why they stood out. I think there could be a good movie. So I don't necessarily think that the Three Musketeers shouldn't be remade, and I'd be totally on board with another one. Like, look how many times Robin Hood's been made.
Yeah, or like have something that makes them the best of the Musketeers. Like, show me why they're the best ones.
Exactly. Like, I would love to. I think they could do another movie. I just don't think this 2011 one was the right movie. But I don't think that the movie shouldn't have been touched. Like Point Break, that's a hard no. That didn't need to be made.
Yeah.
But this one, I think we
franchise
could
is
do
not
another
that
one.
precious to me. So whatever.
Yeah. Cool. So that's all I've got. Thank you for listening to Remake Rewind. We're part of the MDXpods network. You can check out everything that's MDXpods related at MDXpods.com. Of course, we're on Instagram and Twitter at MDXpods. We're going to be revamping Patreon pretty soon. I actually took down all the posts, but I'm going to get better at actually posting on Patreon to make it worthwhile for you guys. And also, don't forget to check out audibletrial.com/MDXpods. This movie, or both these movies, were based off of books that's actually really, really good. I actually really like this book. So check it out. It's a great book you can get for free. And also, don't forget to check out our other podcast, Ruin My Childhood, with myself and Kat. Dustin's popped up on there, and I'm sure Double D will pop up on there someday.
Maybe. No promises.
But that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Bye.
Later.
Let's make it
all for one and all for love.
look the